Welcome to Sports Spectrum, the sports and faith podcast that brings Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
Welcome, everyone, to the Sports Spectrum podcast. I'm Jason Romano. Grateful to have you joining us here on the program today. Today's guest on the podcast is Tennessee Titans linebacker Wesley Woodyard. And we're going to talk about Wesley's career and his journey in just a moment. But I want to share with you guys a great idea for a holiday gift, and that is the Sports Spectrum magazine. It's $18 for an entire year. $18, and you get our quarterly magazine, including a bonus issue, just welcoming you into the Sports Spectrum family. It is a great idea for a gift. If you know someone who loves sports, and I mean loves sports, and loves Jesus, and I mean loves Jesus, this is the magazine. This is the gift. It's a great idea. $18. Sports Spectrum magazine. Here's how you go about subscribing. It's simple. Go to sportspectrum.com. You'll see the subscribe button over on the right that says subscribe to our magazine. Click that button, $18 for an entire year, and you get our magazine. It's a great idea for a gift, perfect for a husband, perfect for a dad, grandkids, girls in sports. I'm telling you, it's really great. Maybe a men's ministry, a youth ministry, Sports Spectrum magazine. You won't regret $18 for an entire year. Maybe buy 2 or 3 subscriptions and give those magazines out to someone you love. Sports and Faith, the stories on sports and faith through Sports Spectrum magazine. Go subscribe today over at sportspectrum.com. Titans linebacker Wesley Woodyard is our guest here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Wesley played his college ball at Kentucky, where he was a 2-time first-team All-SEC linebacker in 2006 and 2007. And then he went undrafted in 2008, signed a deal with the Denver Broncos, and proceeded to play 6 seasons in Denver, including helping them to a Super Bowl berth in 2013 against Seattle. He signed with the Titans in 2014 as a free agent, and he's been there ever since. And this year, in 2018, Wesley has had a very good year. He's went through some injuries, a little up and down, missed a few games, the first games he's missed as a Titan in his career. But just recently, in 2 games against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football and against the New England Patriots this past Sunday, Wesley helped his team to 2 huge victories. And they weren't just wins, close victories. They kind of dominated, especially in the second half against Dallas and really against New England. That entire game, that defense just got after Tom Brady, and Wesley was a big part of that with 1.5 sacks and 10 tackles and just had a great game. And we're grateful to have Wesley here on the podcast. So let's take a listen to our conversation. Tennessee Titans linebacker Wesley Woodyard here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Wesley, welcome to the program.
Good to be here, Jason.
Good to talk to you, my friend. You guys are playing pretty good football right now. You beat Dallas on Monday night in Dallas, and then coming off that win on the road, you come back home and you beat the defending champion New England Patriots, and you look like your guys are having a lot of fun right now, especially that defense in these last 2 games.
Without a doubt, man, we're enjoying the camaraderie on the football field. Everybody makes plays, and it's good to see that when somebody else makes a play, everybody else wants to celebrate for them. So, man, that's what it's all about: playing good defense and being enthused for your brother for making plays out on the field as well.
Yeah, there was a couple plays you made. I saw on the sidelines you were kind of pretending to punch your teammates in the stomach, and then you had your sack or at least a play on Brady, and you kind of were crawling on the ground.
Yeah.
That just shows how much fun you guys are really having.
It is, man. I think J.M. Brown right now has the celebration trophy, man. He's a ball of energy, man. He's the one that slid on the ground during Dallas, and then this week he rolled in onto one of my celebrations, like on the ground. So he's hilarious, man, and that's what it's all about, man. Just having fun and enjoying the game that you're being blessed to be able to play.
Absolutely, and you can sense that. I know since you came to Tennessee in 2014, you played in pretty much every game as a member of the Titans, and unfortunately, as is the case with many players earlier this year, you had a shoulder injury, missed a couple games. How hard, I wonder, was that for you to miss those games and not be out there playing for the first time since you became a Titan?
It was challenging, sitting on the sideline, you get those thoughts in your head that, man, I'm not good enough, or I'm injured. Will I ever get a chance to get back out on the field? And, Being in this NFL, man, it's 100% injury rate. So you have to expect that someday you're going to get hurt. And luckily for me, man, I've been through a situation before in Denver where I faced the same situation. I got injured, had to sit out some games, and I didn't handle it well in Denver. Now I've grown and learned how to mature as a pro and as a man. I took a different approach, and I think I was able to keep my head clear, and I was able to get healed faster and be more positive in the situation. And I was able to come back and not really miss a beat.
Yeah, it's good. And I know that this year, just the team in general for the Titans has played in a ton of close games. I mean, you won a few, you lost a few. And I always wonder, just from a outsider's perspective as a player, do you like those close games, or would you rather just kind of beat a team up by 30? Because you had some close wins this year, the Philadelphia game, the Jacksonville game,
Oh
the Houston
man.
game, and even a couple of your losses to the Chargers and to the Bills were by 1 point. So those games got to be nerve wracking. I wonder, as a fan, I wonder as a player, is it just as nerve wracking, or are you more focused in on a game like that?
I'll say this first off. Heck no, you want to win. You want to win the game and blow people out. That's
Yeah.
your ultimate goal going in. But as a true defensive player, you catch yourself in a moment and you just be sitting back like, okay, it's a competition. It's their defense versus our defense. So I love playing against Jacksonville. Their defense get riled up, and then you go back and forth for whose defense is going to do this, whose defense is going to score, get a turnover. So it's exciting for those close games, but overall, we go into the week and we want to blow somebody out. We don't want any close games.
Well, it's funny too, because probably going into the game on Sunday, you always assume, because it's Brady and the Patriots, that that's going to be
Yeah.
a game that's going to go down to the wire, and yet you guys were able to get something going and really really play well against them, especially on defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you play Tom, you always expect that they're going to be in the game all the way up into the last 2 minutes of the game. They have a chance to win the game. You got to finish them. And to see us come out, and pretty much see the last 4 minutes of the game, I think it was the last 3 minutes of the game, Brady didn't even play in. And, that just was signs of, a team that played complementary football. Everybody on every angle stood together and stuck together and got the job done. And, nobody, and that's the thing about the NFL. No one should be afraid of any team because any team, anybody can win. Any week, anybody can win.
Yeah, I mean, you watch one game where Dallas loses at home on a Monday night to you guys, and then
Yes.
comes back and goes to
Hmm.
Philly and beats Philly and Philly, and it is really every single week anything can happen in the NFL.
Right.
We're talking to Wesley Woodyard here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. You came into this league in 2008, as an undrafted player from Kentucky. I wonder what being undrafted did for you, as far as just becoming the player that you are today, compared to other guys who came in selected maybe one, two, three, and you were that guy that had to
Yeah.
grind and fight just to get a spot.
You know what, man? I honestly consider myself lucky in the aspect of when you go undrafted. I know for me, like the first thing I did was like I immediately like I prayed and was like, God, if you give me this opportunity, I'll rededicate myself to football. And like I was so focused at another level like early in my career, and I just was like, all I need is the opportunity. And everybody coaches and everybody preaches that word opportunity. That's all you need. And that was something that I live by. Give me the opportunity and I'm gonna be ready.
Mm. And then as the opportunity, I mean, you still kind of had to have that approach
Yeah.
each season, right? Because it is the not for long acronym that the NFL stands for. So you're legitimately fighting for a spot every year. Did being undrafted kind of
Yeah.
prepare you maybe a little bit better for that each
Ma-
season?
It's so many lessons you can learn from being an undrafted player or a guy that got drafted in the low rounds because
Yeah.
you have to have the mentality that I have to prove myself every year. And that's actually the mentality of the whole NFL. And that's why it stands for not for long. So if you come in the game knowing that, hey, being drafted is that's just the start of the race. How you maintain and how you approach the game as a professional is going to allow you to stay in the league for a long time.
What's one thing, I think, as fans, that you can share with us, and anybody really who's never played an NFL game? What's one thing about the NFL life that maybe people just don't realize that you can share with us? I'm sure
It's
there's a
no
lot.
day. It's really no days off once the football season starts, man.
Yeah.
You really gotta be locked in and honed in. Like, the college player, you have to go to class and you have to go play football. in the NFL, it's strictly football. You're in class. Your class is actually in the playbook room, learning your plays, learning your adjustments on the game plan. So it's like we're really in school learning the game of football, and it's kind of cool, man. I enjoy the job that I do. I enjoy playing the game of football. So it's like they say you never work a day if you enjoy your job, right? So I
It's
love
true.
my job.
Absolutely. Now, I know your faith's a vital part of who you are as well. Can you take us to, we don't have to spend a ton of time, but maybe take us to the moment when you made Christ Lord of your life, when you started your Christian walk?
You know, I grew up Southern Baptist. My mom had us in the church. She was a Bible study teacher, so we were in the church Sunday to Monday every week. It was a 7 day church fest for us. So growing up, man, I knew the Lord, I knew Jesus Christ, I knew everything who He was, but it wasn't on my terms of giving my life to God. So a few years back at PAO, I felt the move to step up and be the head of my household, and really try to grow myself and be made holy into my walk with Christ. And it's something that my life has completely changed ever since then. It's been tough, and it's also been a breath of fresh air knowing that God has my back, and no matter what, I already have the victory.
What are some of the things that changed? You say your life changed. Can you share, elaborate a little bit more?
Oh man, my family's grown bigger. Just
Yep.
being more of aware of the responsibilities that it hold of being a man of God, and what it means to actually stand up in front of for something that you believe, man.
Mm.
Because I really truly believe that I have to be the example for my son and for my daughters of what a true man of God believes. So that's something that really strikes me right now in my walk with Christ, and I'm just trying to stay to it and maintain that godly image every day, and you got to fight for it every day.
You do. What is faith in the Titans locker room, or even just as a team camaraderie? A lot of teams have Bible studies and certainly chapel, but what does that look like for you guys in the Titans locker room?
It's great, man. We have a great great group of guys every week that get together. It's probably about 13 to 15 guys that do Bible study every week. We're trying to get that group to grow,
Of
but
course.
we do chapel every week, of course, before the game. And I was able to lead my first chapel this week, man. So it was excited. I wasn't really set up for chapel. I put my foot in my mouth. I was talking to my chaplain about I was thinking I was asking about leading Bible study, prepare for the small group, and
Yeah.
he was like, "No, my brother, you said chapel." So I went from thinking I'm gonna speak to about 10 guys to
Oh,
speaking to about 30 guys. But man, you know. I spoke in about Genesis, man, about how the world needs more Enochs, and we got to walk with God and be made holy, man, for this world to really change. So it was exciting, man. My teammates loved it, and I think the word carried over on to Sunday.
well, I was just going to say, so you share the word in chapel, you go out and take care of the Patriots. You might have to share chapel every week, Wesley, every single
Man,
week.
that's what Brett Kern was yelling after the game, man. He was like, "Wood, you got to lead chapel every week." I'm like, "Oh man, don't give me no credit."
I love that. A couple more questions here with Wesley Woodyard on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Now, you've been in the NFL for a decade. 2008 was the first year that you
hmm
came in. How has your faith evolved over the past 10 years in the role that it's played for you as a football player? I know you said PAO was a moment where you kind of rededicated and really focused on being the leader in your household, but how has your faith evolved and played a role as a football player for you over the last 10 years, and certainly as a husband and a dad as well?
I've enjoyed my faith role as far as my growth in faith, man. Because my earlier years, I had some great examples of what it meant to be a father figure and what it meant to be a Christian. Guys like Andre Davis that came in from Cleveland, a fellow linebacker that really taught me how to put my family first. Guys like Tim Tebow. Everybody knows about Tim.
Yeah.
And the most important guy who I learned from Brian Dawkins,
Mm,
Hall of Fame, not only on the field, but a Hall of Fame follower of Jesus Christ, man. And
yeah.
just to see how he carried himself every day and how he was so willing to teach other brothers coming up behind him. He was more of the kind of man that was like, "Hey, I already made mistakes in my life, so you learn from my experiences, so you don't have to go through those same aches and pains because my struggles are to build and uplift my brother." And so just to see that and learn from an earlier age, and now the roles are flipped in reverse. I'm stepping in the locker room to, well, now I'm the guy sharing that advice to the younger guys, and I actually feel blessed that I'm in a position to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember Brian Dawkins used to work at ESPN when I was there, and he came and spoke to our small group at ESPN and shared his testimony for about 35, 40 minutes. And I swear I was ready to run through the glass doors in that conference room after he shared his testimony, right? And so you played with him. What an amazing, I know I want you to expand on Brian's impact for you, but if you have a great Doc story, I'd love to hear it.
Oh, man. Not necessarily great stories of B-Dog. Just every day you could get a classic clip of how to be a great human being, man. Some of my favorite moments are him on game day, just transforming into what he like to say his alter ego. All of a sudden,
Weapon X.
Weapon X is upon you, and he's breakdancing in the middle of the locker room, yelling at the top of his lungs. We're like, he has to be listening to rap music, and he pulls his headset off, and it's purely Christ music, and he's jamming to the top of his lungs, and it's just like, I feel this, and all of a sudden he has a football in his hands. He's talking to the football. So just seeing him evolve and just be that guy for us, man, it was amazing to see, man. It was truly a blessing to witness that greatness every day.
He's awesome. I love Doc. We're going to get him on the podcast too sometime.
Oh yeah, man.
He just went into the Hall of Fame. We could talk for 2 hours with Brian Dawkins on this podcast. He'd be amazing.
2 hours. I do have one more story. I always share this with the younger guys with B-Dog. So we're in OTAs, and all week we got new coaches. They're teaching, we got to get to the ball, we got to hustle, we got to do this, we need to do extra run, finish the plays. So we got Brian Dawkins, and everybody is trying to see how he's going to take this approach. So we run a safety blitz off the left side of the scrimmage. So Kyle Orton drops back. Brian Dawkins is on a blitz. He faked like he scripts. He first off, he beats the blocker off the side of the ball. He fake strips the sack. Kyle Orton still throws a pass down the field. So the pass goes 40 yards down the field. So keep in mind, Brian is still tracking the whole play. He's still running full speed down 40 yards down the field, strips the ball out of Jabbar Gaffney's hand, picks it up, and runs into the touchdown the opposite way. And it's like, oh my God, this man is amazing. So I always share to the rookies that it doesn't matter who you are, at what age you are, all you have to do is just practice every rep like it's your last, man, and just give it your all. And B-Dog did that every single day. To see a legend do that, it was amazing.
That's great. Couple more questions here with Wesley Woodyard. I wonder for you, just as you are a veteran now, 32 years old and still going strong, having last 2 games you played were great, 20 tackles total, 2.5 sacks, just playing really good football right now. But I wonder spiritually, what type of challenges are you facing right now? What has the Lord been kind of impressing on your heart that's maybe been a challenge for you this year spiritually? It doesn't even have to be this season. It could just be in a year. What you've been struggling with a little bit?
Oh man, it's I can really say, man, this year has been one of those refreshing years for me. I've honestly, I've learned to understand what my temptations are and understand that what I go through isn't for me, and understanding that, like, we're all going to be tempted, man, tempted through the flesh, man. That's something that, in this game that we play, like, it's all about money, women, and sex. And that's all we hear throughout the locker room, throughout our lifestyle. Everybody expects us to be these guys, but we don't have to be that. And once you understand that and realize that, like, we should be sharing as men and more importantly, checking on our brothers on how we live and how we say we want to live in life. And I'm so proud that, man, I've grown through my spiritual life, and I have a guy in my locker room by the name of Derek Morgan, who is like my spiritual, he's like my spiritual checker, man. Like every day we check each other, man. He's my accountability partner. And I feel like in the walk that we live as football players, that's something that we must have inside our locker rooms to survive. You have to have that accountability partner.
That's so true. Well, leave us with this, Wesley, a Bible verse, maybe a story from the Bible. I know you just preached, and I call it preaching, right? That's what it is when you're sharing a chapel. You're preaching.
Right.
Maybe a Bible verse that can encourage those that are listening. That's really been an encouragement to you.
Yeah, man. I read something to my team out of Genesis 5 verses. I'll start with verse 21 and end around verse 24. It's about the story about Enoch, or how he changed his forefathers lived wrong and did not walk with God for over 5,000 years. So Enoch, it says, Enoch lived 65 years and became the father of Methuselah. Then Enoch walked with God for over 300 years. None of his fathers bore children and walked with God first. Enoch chose to change the whole path and, change that landscape of his forefathers by walking with God for over 300 years. And I think as men, we have to step up and enjoy our walk with God, because when we take our time with the Lord, it's going to be a great outcome. And the thing about Enoch, he was spared death. So the Lord was pleased with him because he chose to take his time with the Lord.
That's awesome. That's really good. Wesley Woodyard, Tennessee Titans linebacker. I forgot to tell you, my wife's a huge Titans fan, by the way. And I don't know if you know this, but I grew up a Cowboys fan. So Monday night, we were having a celebration in the household, and I wasn't the happy one. Let's put it that way.
Hey, you know what? I'm not even sorry. I'm not even sorry to say that. I'm
You
glad
shouldn't
that
be
happened.
sorry. Heck no. Hey, happy wife, happy life. You just
Yes,
made
that
my
is
life
true.
happier.
That is true. I'm sure you had a great night.
Hey, happy wife, happy life, my friend.
Yes.
Wesley Woodyard, thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and we'll catch up again soon. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Take care, Jason.
And our thanks to Wesley Woodyard, Tennessee Titans linebacker, for joining us here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. As always, you can reach us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, everywhere podcasts are found. Subscribe to this podcast. Let others know about the stories on the intersection of sports and faith. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook. That would be amazing. You can also check out our YouTube channel. It's all under the umbrella of Sports Spectrum and SportsSpectrum.com. Check out our website as well, and check out all of the different content, including daily devotionals, every day, first-person stories and articles on the intersection of sports and faith. It's just really a great opportunity to share the gospel through sports, and we're honored to be a part of it here at Sports Spectrum. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time right here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. Have a great rest of your day.